Good morning, everybody. This is Redbeardsaws here, and I wanted to do a little video on the T540 Mark III. Some guys have said that they are experiencing like restart issues, and the saw won't idle very well. It just kind of dies, then it's hard to restart. So I'm gonna go through something that I discovered with the carburetors. You guys can see everything, yeah. So I want to try to get close here. So I'm gonna go through what I discovered. We're gonna check the carburetor needle lever height. I use this little tool. If you don't have this tool, it's okay. I'll explain how you can just use like a straight edge, or like a razor blade would be a nice straight edge, right? If you have, you know, like a little ruler or something like that, right? So I'm gonna show you what to do and how to take down the saw, you know, if it's already put together, right? So there's a little screw here. I'm using a T27. It's like your most commonly used tool to take down these new saws. So I'm just gonna release this little primer bulb hose here on the top of the carb. So that's hooked up here. This will can just hang out. I'm gonna take these two bolts out here. And that comes off, and then you'll want to try to remove the carb. You don't have to unhook all this, the fuel line and the throttle cable. You can leave that connected. So I'm just kind of getting it out so it's loose. Then your next step would be to just set aside these wire connections. So you can get at, and you want to remember how these are set in there, because it's pretty tight when you put the carb back into the saw. So you want to expose these 4 screws, because we're going to get inside. Excuse me, I think I caught a cold from the kids being at school, but we'll keep going. So next you want to grab a Phillips screwdriver, and you're going to remove these 4 screws from the pump side of the carb. So what I've noticed is that the saws will run great when they're running, you know, like top full RPM, full squeeze, and you're using it and cutting it, and then you hook it back up to your saddle, or you set the saw down. And you can kind of hear it, it almost leans out, right? So you just want to be careful after you get this cover off. There's my screws. And you want to really remember the order of these diaphragms and gaskets. So these are the new style gaskets, and you just want to take care how they go back together, right? And if you don't get them back together correctly, the saw's not going to run. So I'm just taking them off and setting them down, so my top surfaces here they stay on the top. So here's the needle lever right here. I can point to it here with this little needle nose. So this height here is too tall for the style carburetor that it is, and this is an HDA. It's a Walbro HDA. So on this little tool here, it tells you one of these views. You should be able to get it without the blur or the shine off there. I'm gonna find the one that says HDA, and HDA is just a flat edge. So what this tool is used for is that you would slide it across the carb body. So with all the gaskets and the diaphragms removed, you want to just slide it across. So right now, out of the box, brand new, this is a brand new saw. I haven't ported it or anything yet. I just grabbed it out of the box to make this video, and I'll port it later. But so right out of the box, if you slide this flat edge across this carb body, so the carb body would be the actual aluminum on the carb, you slide it across and it hits that lever, right? This is called a little lever, and it pulses and it allows fuel to flow throughout the carburetor to the high jet. I think, you know, I'm not a carburetor expert by any means, but I did this fix on a couple saws and it was like magic. They ran great, they idled perfect. I felt confident about it, so I believe that this is a nice little fix, and it's pretty easy to do if you're willing to take the carb apart and pay attention to how things go back together. I'm gonna turn this fan off quick. There we go. Sorry about that. So what you want to do, I'm just going to use a clean little screwdriver. I'm going to hold down the needle side with the screwdriver. Boy, you can't really see that. So I'm going to hold it down here, and I'm just going to bend that lever just a little bit. And I'm going to check it again with that straight edge. And I want to see how close it really is to hitting. So I got a little bit more to go. So again, you want to hold that needle side down and just bend this little lever. You can just use your fingers like I'm doing. So I'm just giving it a little bend. And I'm going to check it again, make sure it's all good. So I'm almost there. It's just on the edge. Do it a little bit more. You can kind of feel it. Go slow. You know, if you go too far, you can bend it back up. It's just real thin, you know. I can use the same thing with the straight edge, right? So you just want to be able to just run this over there, across the top of the carb body edges here. And if you hit that lever, it's too tall still. Bend it a little bit more. So it's just almost there. So again, I'm holding down that needle side, bending this little lever until I get that straight edge to just clear. We're talking just a little bit. So I'm being a little finicky, but that's alright. We'll go through the motions here. Alright, I got it now. So I'm just a little bit too low. As you can just visually see it when you're doing this, right? So this is for you guys to do and try it at home. See if it cures the idle issues that we're experiencing. So I'm perfect now. So it just passes over right underneath this straight edge, and it's almost just nicking this little edge here, you know. For your ruler, this, if you have this tool, you don't need this tool. You know, they have different edges for different model carbs from Walbro. This is a Walbro tool. Comes in handy. I never think of it right away. And then I had a guy send a saw back that I ported for him, the exact same saw, T540 Mark III, and it was just dying. Cut great. At, you know, when you're in the cut, full squeeze on the throttle, set the saw down, it just kind of does its own thing, and then it just dies. And then it was somewhat hard to restart, right? So if you do that, and then put your gaskets and things back in the same order that they came off. It should cure it. I've done it a couple times now on some saws, and now I'm starting to check them on all the saws that I do, just so you guys don't have to do this at home or go through all the trouble, etc., etc. Then you just want to put the top cap back on in the same order that it came off. And you'll see little nubs down there that line up with the carb cap here. These screws are so small. Then you don't have to snug them or torque them down. You just get them, or you don't have to over tighten them, I should say. Just snug them up is what I meant. But I hope that this cures some of the issues that I'm getting reported back on. But and I had originally thought, I knew it was the carb, and I thought it was a faulty carb on a couple saws, and I didn't want to just go out and buy a new carb. You know, you're just throwing parts at something, you're not really learning from it. I don't like working on that, or working on saws in that fashion. So I just got to thinking about it a lot, and I tore into the saw, and I was like, well, I have this tool here, you know, you don't need this tool again, right? You can just use a flat edge now that I'm making this video. And